anyasmadapi chayudhaihi. No kind of a weapon should be effective on me. So nobody should be able to think of a weapon which will have any effect on me. Na bhumau na ambare mrityuhu. Neither upon the earth nor in the sky or space around. Mrityuhu na narair na mrigairapi. I should not encounter death either in the hands of human beings or in the hands of beasts and animals. Are you hearing me? This is how he insulated himself. And let us see what is going to happen. I am discussing this story only to eliminate all kinds of fear. Generally you have fear about somebody or something. Now here is a person who is equipping himself with all kinds of insurance against any possible attack from anybody. And himself, he is going to do a lot of harm to all others. Vyasubhir va sumadbhir surasura mahoragaihi apradidvandvatam yuddhe aigapatyam cha dehinam. Vyasubhihi va asumadbhir. In the whole creation, there are things which are alive and non-alive. So he says, I should not be encountered and put to destruction by anybody, either sentient or insentient, alive or non-alive things. Sura sura mahoragaihi, either by the denizens of heaven, devas, or asuras, or mahoragaihi, by big serpents also. Apradidvandvatam yuddhe. If there is going to be a war with anyone, in that war, I must be having no adversary at all. I must be adversary-less fighter. What further insurance do you want? Aikapatyam chadehinam. On all embodied creatures, I must be the solitary emperor. There should be nobody to challenge me, to be like me, to excel me, or even be a subsidiary to me. Evam labdhavaro daityo Bibhrat hemamayam vabuhu bhagavatyakarodvesham bhradur vadham anusmaran evam labdhavaro daityo bibhrat hemamayam vabuhu. All these boons Brahma granted. He ticked everything one after the other. Not even one he exempted. No, this particular boon I am not giving you. I will give all the rest. No. Brahma simply okayed whatever Hiranyakashipu asked for. Actually, it was Brahma's short-sightedness. He was very pleased when Hiranyakashipu performed such a severe austerity on him. Nobody performs, as I said, on austerity on Brahma. So he was pleased. So he also behaved in a short-sighted manner. See what happens. Evam labdhavaro daityo bibhrad hemamayam vabuhu bhagavatyagarod dvesham. After having been equipped, enriched and empowered in this manner, having become unconquerable, unsubduable for all things, all persons in this world, Bhagavati agarod dvesham. He fostered hatred to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Bhradur vadhamanusmaran. Why? There was a reason. The reason was his brother Hiranyaksha was killed by Mahavishnu. So I will take recompense. I will take revenge. So he started fostering hatred. To encounter Mahavishnu is not easy at all. He is not like any other being. He is a sustaining force. He has to sustain the whole universe. The universe is endless. It is immeasurable. So where can you find Mahavishnu so easily? He has to sustain the whole universe. So in magnitude, in potential, in permeation, in all the lakshanas that you can imagine, Mahavishnu is indescribable. Nevertheless, he fostered hatred. After having got all these boons, he went back from the mountain and he resolved to uproot and topple Mahavishnu in a very well thought out manner, in a sustained manner. You know what he decided? Lord Mahavishnu is the Lord of all sacrifices. Mahavishnu will remain strong as long as there are pious and religious and devotional people in this world. When people foster devotion and perform a number of rituals, ceremonies, devotional practices, yagas, yajnas and the like, all of them are going to be the lifeblood for Mahavishnu. So he decided, the survival of Mahavishnu depends upon piety, religiosity, austerity, penance and the like. So he called all his chieftains and said that, go and destroy everything that is good, noble, religious and great in this world. When the roots are spoiled, the whole tree will topple. In the same manner, the root of Mahavishnu lies in religious, spiritual and austere practices. Never allow anything at all in the world. Destroy everything, everything. Go and disturb them, destroy them, exterminate them. Any activity in the nature of austerity, religiosity, devotion or other things, nothing should be allowed from now on. The entire army of Hiranyakashipu picked up whatever they could command. With spear, with hammer, with crowbar, with pickaxe, sword, shield, spade, shovel, hooks, with chains, everything. They started running helter-skelter. You know, they were shouting to get inspiration. Chindi, chindi, bhindi, bhindi. Break upon, tear upon, destroy everything. Shouting in this manner, they went. They went on pillaging and plundering all holy places and holy people, religious and spiritual gatherings, spreading widespread havoc everywhere. This is what they did. The whole world trembled under the terror. They started trembling. Arey, what kind of a situation, plight is this? We have never heard of it. It has become a fact before us. Nobody can survive here. We cannot say Hare, Hari, Narayana, Krishna. Nothing should be uttered. There is one man and his men, anywhere, everywhere. What shall we do? So they became absolutely distressed. In utter distress, what will you do? When the visible world is punishing you, you have no rescue from any quarters whatsoever, you should not yield. The visible world is sustained by an invisible power, some invisible hands. So they went to Mahavishnu and sought refuge under him. Mahavishnu, after hearing the distress, contemplated upon for a while and said, what shall I do? The demon emperor, Hiranyakashipu, he has the full cover of safety from Brahma, who is my counterpart. So Brahma has equipped him to have this kind of an invincible position. So how to encounter him? It is not going to be easy at all. My dear Devas, Brahmanas and the others, I have to think and devise a very special stratagem, a very special expediency in order to face Hiranyakashipu and his terror. In any way, give me some time, you go back, sufficiently assured. There will come a time when he will start hurting and assaulting his own son. Now, in that process, the parental duty and safety, that law, he will flout. So I will get an opportunity to enter there and take whatever revenge or offense I want to have. So wait until then. They all went, not with a full relief, at least with a promise of a relief. And they were waiting impatiently or patiently for whatever was to take place. Before long, Prahlada was born. Prahlada was born. Just imagine, Prahlada was born after this entreaty by Devas and the Brahmanas. Then what happened? Prahlada was born. Right from the beginning, he had to become 7 years old. So what is the time lag that you can imagine now? So whenever the world undergoes an adverse plight, don't think that suddenly we will have a relief. It all depends upon what is the nature of the plight, what is the nature of the misfortune and the calamity. Depending upon the gravity of it, the magnitude of it, the rescue measure also will have to be woven. So it will take some time. So they went back. Whenever Prahlada will be encountered by him, using it as a plea, I shall appear there. This is what Mahavishnu said. This Prahlada, after his birth, right from the beginning, he was a very, very different boy. He used to play with his playthings. Suddenly he will stop playing and he will be closing his eyes. So far as he was concerned, he was immersed in the thought and contemplation of the beautiful four-handed form of Lord Hari. But Kayadu and the others could not know what this little boy was doing. So they were very apprehensive. So they thought that it was some kind of an affectation by a ghost. So they brought some cow dung, mixed it with water and started sprinkling, and bringing a cow with the tail, they started waving it around. All these things used to be done. But actually what was happening? Govinda parirambhidaha. This little child was embraced within his heart by Lord Hari. This is what was happening. This kind of a boy was Prahlada. It was very obvious to the father very soon that Prahlada was very much devoted to Lord Hari. Whenever he got time, he would say, Hare, 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 Hare Krishna. This is what he would say. So Prahlada clearly demonstrated that he was an ardent devotee of the Lord. This is what Hiranyakashipu, his father, could not tolerate at all. For Hiranyakashipu, Lord Hari was enemy number one. Being the enemy number one, how could the father tolerate him? So he decided, what shall I do now? So he called Chandamarkas, special instructors, entrusted the boy to their care and said, somehow teach him in a very efficient manner so that he is deflected from the path of devotion and the memory of Lord Hari. He is only told about the world. He particularly said, there are 4 Purusharthas, Dharma, Artha, Kama and Moksha. He should not be taught anything about the first and the last, he said. Dharma, the path of righteousness, where we give enough of place and importance for God. And Moksha, redemption. For redemption, Parabhakti, supreme devotion is called redemption also. So nothing should be taught about Dharma and redemption. Tell him only about Artha, riches, opulence, monetary resources, and how to spend and gratify desires. How to spend the money and gratify desires. That is Kama. Chandamarkas took him and they started teaching him in the manner in which the father had commanded them to do, and the tuition went on. After a while, they took the child back to the father and said, we have taught him, you may test him in your own manner. The father called him, put him on his lap, and he asked him, my dear son, what is the best of lesson that you have learned all this while? Tell me, will you please tell me? The son replied in all confidence, without anything like faltering of voice or anything like that. He went on speaking in a very crystal clear manner. This verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, my dear hearers, my dear listeners, this is an ideal for you, the householders. Here is the value set for them. Why am I speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam? Only for your sake, you householders' sake, not for anybody else. There is no way for the householders to have anything like holiness and piety, except when they undergo a spell of devotional exercise like this. Listening to a telecast, now this is a telecast, listening to a telecast like this, reading Srimad Bhagavatam or attending a Saptaha session or a Satram itself, that alone is going to give you salvation. The entire household life is otherwise contaminated. It is corrupted. It is adulterated. Don't you know the householders are ruling our country? And what is the extent of corruption that we have? Even when there is a strong voice from the people that the nation should not withstand corruption, it should redress it, the majority of the people say, no, it cannot be done. There is no magic rod for it. Just imagine what is the situation. It's all done by householders. It's not done by ascetics. Ascetics are not ruling the country. So in the household you will find the worst of corruption. It is perpetrated, perpetuated and sustained by them. So he comes up with a statement. What is that? Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehinam sada samudvignadhiyam asadgrahad hitva atmapadam grihamandhagopam vanam gato yadharim ashrayeta. Actually, in golden characters, you should write this verse and put it on your house, somewhere on the wall. Read it every day. Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehinam sada samudvignadhiyam asadgrahad hitva atmapatam griham andhakupam vanam gato yad dharima ashrayeda. My dear father, tat sadhu manye, I consider that to be right and proper, auspicious. I don't consider anything else. What is that? Asuravarya, oh, emperor of Asuras. Dehinam, for the embodied people, sada samudvignadhiyam asadgrahad. For all the embodied people, the mind is always agitated. It is under tension. It is under pressure. It is under stress. Why? Asadgrahad. They are holding on to things which are fleeting, transitory, evanescent. Transitory. Our body itself is nashwara, transitory. What about the relationships that we have? They are also equally transitory. What about the earth? Earth also is transitory. Because they are clinging to transitory and perishable things of the world, their mind is constantly undergoing enormous tension, ceaseless tension. So as long as you are living in the household and you are clinging to asat things, unreal things, perishable things, this plight is not going to be remedied at all. So within the house remaining there, if you feel that you can get salvation, it is a myth, it is impossible. Therefore the little child says, after all, it is a boy. Whether it is the boy who speaks, it is Veda Vyasa who writes. And it is a person like me who explains it. And all of you who are listening to me, you are not 7 years old. Maybe very rarely 1 or 2 children may be listening to. And children are listening, I am told. Very recently a child came. I think the child is only 7 or 6 years old. And the parents were telling me, Swamiji, every day at 6:15, when your program Mukti Sudhakaram commences, the child comes and lies on a cot and he listens to it. Often he will be the first man to switch on. Some people will be there, but not normally. Tat sadhu manye asuravarya dehinam sada samudvignadhiyam asadgrahad. Asadgrahad. Whatever you are holding on to firmly are perishable. Perishable. So the perishable things are not going to give you a constant or an incessant happiness. Therefore, what should be done? Hitva atmapadam grihamandhakupam. Srimad Bhagavata through Prahlada describes our household to be andhakupam. It is a blind well with no water. So people throw everything into it. Glass pieces will be there. Sharp and piercing objects will be there. So when somebody falls, there will be no sound and he will be hurt. Nobody will go because it is not well under use. So this is the situation in the house. Andhakupam griham atmapadam. This well is surely meant to kill you, take away your life. Atmapadam griham andhakupam hitva, leaving it, keeping it beside. Vanam gato yadharima ashrayeta. You should go to the forest. There alone you will have a favorable and a congenial atmosphere to do penance or austerity. So go to the forest and then what should you do? Harim ashrayeta. Start telling your mind, teaching your mind, training your mind, cultivating your mind to rely upon the Supreme Beloved Lord Hari, the Parama Kalyana Nidhi, the treasure of supreme felicity. Hitva atmapadam grihamandhakupam vanam gato yadharimashrayeta. What does he imply by this? The 7-year-old boy tells his demon emperor, who is trying to destroy Lord Hari, considering him to be his enemy number 1, that boy, his own son, he tells him, my dear father, you are living in a palace household. This is actually a blind well. If you want to have any salvation or peace or glory, leave everything, abandon your throne, abandon the palace. All these are degenerating. They will only pull you down. Go to the forest, sit in solitude and repeatedly pray to and contemplate upon the supreme beloved Lord Hari, the treasure of immortality. This is the meaning. Just imagine. The father listens to these words from his own son. What does the father want to hear? He wants to hear anything against Lord Hari, not in favor of him. But here the son, in spite of the fact that he specially instructed Chandamarkas to teach him and train him in a manner that his devotion to Lord Hari is cleverly deflected and robbed, they were not successful. Imagine what should have been the reaction and response in the mind of the father. Would he have liked the words? So he spurned the son, threw him away from the lap. But his parental bond, that parental fondness, did not allow him to completely get away from the son. So he still fostered a little hope, called the Chandamarkas, talked to them more firmly with a little angry note. This is your fault, not my son's fault. You have not taught him properly. Take care that nobody intrudes into your class. Nobody should be allowed to come from anywhere and give him a wrong tuition. Make sure that he is specially taught. Intensify your efforts and safeguard him. With such an instruction, he sent the child again with Chandamarkas. The teachers tried their level best, but it was of no avail. After all, it was olden times. It is not many teachers coming for many classes, only 2 teachers teaching constantly. So they had to get away from the class for answering the calls of nature. Whenever they were away a little bit, Prahlada would call all his classmates. He became a ringleader. Come. Our teachers are not teaching you properly. The important and fundamental lessons are missed. So I will tell you what you should know and what you are missing elsewhere in our classes. All of them came, and with sharp ears, with their gaze fixed on his lips, Prahlada's lips, they started listening to him. What did he teach him? He said, Dharma and Moksha. Altogether there are 4 Purusharthas. The first is Dharma, the path of righteousness. Everything you do in this world should be according to the tenets of righteousness. And the goal of our life, though we pass through Artha and Kama, is Moksha. Moksha can be derived or gained only by fostering devotion. So you must develop uncontaminated, unsullied devotion towards Lord Vishnu. This Dharma and Moksha are the first and the last Purusharthas. This our teachers are cleverly avoiding. It is gravely wrong. I am not going to blame them, but I don't want you to be denied of the supreme benefit of the right tuition. Therefore, listen to me. This is what the child was doing. After some time, as usual, they took the child again to the father and said that we have taught him as you have commanded us. Our tuition has been intensified. Nobody has intruded into our Padashala. We have taken sufficient care to see that he is not ill-exposed. Now you may try for yourself. Hiranyakashipu called him again, put him on his lap and fondly asked him, my dear son, he had a ray of hope. What have you studied during this interval that passed? You know what the child said? He was more firm, he was more confident, and he was more specific also. Now whatever, particularly the first line of Prahlada's confession has become the cultural song of India, the value song of India, for all of you, the householders. Kaumara ajaret prajno dharman bhagavataniha. He says, Kaumara ajaret prajno dharman bhagavataniha. As long as you live in this world, understand, my dear father, there is a procedure to be adopted. There is a discipline to be adhered to. There must be a watchword to be constantly striven for.